Hello everyone, I welcome you all to this session and today we shall discuss about beverage cost control. Introduction. The bar manager must have the technical knowledge of all the beverages, the processes, raw materials, sources of supply, type of operations and most vital is the knowledge of financial implications. Once business starts, the manager must continue to watch and improve in order to establish whether the system suits the operation and produces useful information. With such information, sound decisions would be possible and improve business performance at every stage. Cost controls aspect is the continual audit of cash, stock, overheads and labor control systems. Information and data derived by the control systems are used in the preparation of management reports, forecasts and budgets, as ultimately the aim is to improve business and achieve the required profit. Objectives. The beverage cost control aspects cover the following different stages: purchase of beverages, receiving of beverages, storing of beverages, issuing of beverages, frauds committed in the bars. Let us move on to the first objective, purchase of beverages. Broadly, the types of alcoholic beverages purchased in any beverage outlet are wines, spirits, beers. The purpose of beverage purchasing controls is to ensure that an appropriate supply of ingredients for producing beverage products for sales is maintained at hand. The responsibility of purchasing is delegated to the purchase manager. For control's purpose, it is important that the person procuring should not be involved in the sale. Purchasing procedure is simplified because of the packaging. All types of beverages come in sealed containers and is easy to account for. Purchasing is done on a periodic basis. The quantity and frequency depends on the policy in terms of investing money in inventory as well as availability, delivery schedules and the various regulations imposed by the local government. The request for stock to be replenished is raised by the bar manager in consultation with the barman. Once it is approved, the demand copy is sent to the purchase department. The changes in price and the frequency with which it changes is more in accordance to the policies of the government. Therefore, notification of price change is prepared whenever the changes take place. This is very important as the selling prices have to be altered immediately in the outlets to achieve the profit. Receiving of beverages. Most items come in cases or crates. These are checked for the volume in the containers, as sometimes many bottles are not filled properly or are empty but with the seal intact. The number of units are also counted, as chances of pilferage are very high. The labels also have to be checked to ensure that the correct items have been delivered. The document receiving report is filled up. One copy accompanies the goods to the cellar where the alcoholic beverages are stored. In the cellar, the stock is checked against the receiving report from the receiving department. Only when the cellar personnel is satisfied with the information found in the receiving report does he acknowledge the receipt of the goods. The quantities received is entered in the bin cards maintained in the cellar for each type of beverage. From the receiving department, the second copy of the receiving report is sent to the accounts department for the payment. Bin cards. Bin is a small compartment created for storing each item. Bin card prepared for each bin separately to know the quantity of material received, material issued, and the balance on hand. Usually, it also gives information about the various stock levels so that the person in charge of store gets information as to when the material has to be ordered. This card is prepared for each item separately and in each bin. The table shown here depicts the typical bin card format. Let us now move to the third objective, storing of beverages. Alcoholic beverages are highly susceptible to pilferage. The key to the cellar must be carefully monitored. One of the control procedures is to change the locks often. Containers or cases should be emptied and all the contents arranged according to the types in the respective bins. The bin cards are updated to give the latest position of the stock in hand. The containers or cases are kept in a separate area so that containers are not used to hide bottles. The wine bottles are stored in the horizontal position. These are also kept in cool area where the temperature is lower. Other types of bottles, that is spirits and beers, are stored upright. For easy identification, each type of beverage is arranged in its bin with the corresponding bin cards where all information about the stock, receipts, issues and balance is recorded with all the relevant references, the receiving report number and date, and also the date and number of the requisition from the bar. Breakages. Most of the alcoholic beverages are packaged in glass containers of different capacities. Breakages of these containers during transportation and handling is common. Therefore, a record of the breakages is maintained. Many times during the bottling of the beverages in the manufacturing process, some of the bottles are filled with lesser quantity than the capacity denoted on the label. These bottles are termed as ullage. Ullage is a term used to describe the space between the surface of the liquid and the cork or the lid of the container. Generally, wine bottles which are leaking due to faulty corks are described as weeping wine. This type of wine bottle is categorized under ullage. This bottle is returned to the supplier. In case of bottles breaking in the cellar or bar, the neck of the bottle with the sealed cap intact is kept for accounting purpose. A record of all losses through ullage or breakage or spillage is documented, as this is taken into account when ascertaining the cost of cellar or bar stock. Perpetual inventory control or cellar inventory control. This system is very effective for control of beverages in the cellar where all the stock is stored. The constant updating of the stock in the cellar when beverages are received and issued is followed strictly. Bin cards for every bin is updated. As a result, the balance column in the cards should always tally with the physical stock. The same records are maintained by staff who do not work in the cellar but from the accounts department. The number of units received are entered from the copy of the daily receiving report sent from the receiving department along with the goods, and the issues to the bar from the copy of the requisitions issued by the barman to the cellar. At any given time, the balance column on the bin cards of both the cellar and the accounts department should show the same quantities which would be equal to the physical count. Let us now move to the fourth objective, issuing of beverages from the cellar. The procedure is that the bottles are issued only against a written requisition in triplicate signed by an authorized person, the barman. The original and duplicate copies are sent to the seller to pick the requested items. After issuing, the requisition is signed by the seller in charge as having issued. The person receiving the goods to deliver to the bar also signs acknowledging the receipt of the listed items. The two copies are priced in the cellar and one copy of the requisition is sent to the accounts department. The second copy of the requisition is retained in the cellar for updating the documents and the bin cards maintained for every item issued. In the accounts department also, the records are updated which are similar to that maintained in the cellar. In certain establishments, empty bottles of the items requisitioned from the bar are exchanged for full bottles from the cellar. This method helps in maintaining the par stock level in the bar. Receipt of stock into the bar. After receiving the requisitioned stock from the seller, the barman checks the items against the triplicate book copy of the requisition. This copy of the requisition from the bar and the copy of the requisition sent from the seller to the accounts department, these records are checked and updated to compare with the physical stock in the cellar. This is an exercise in the perpetual inventory method for strict control procedure adopted. Stock taking, perpetual inventory control or cellar inventory control. This system is very effective for control of beverages in the cellar where all the stock is stored. The constant updating of the stock in the cellar when beverages are received and issued is followed strictly. Bin cards for every bin is updated. As a result, the balance column in the cards should always tally with the physical stock. The same records are maintained by staff who do not work in the cellar but from the accounts department. The number of units received are entered from the copy of the daily receiving report sent from the receiving department along with the goods, and the issues to the bar from the copy of the requisitions issued by the barman to the seller. At any given time, the balance column on the bin cards of both the seller and the accounts department should show the same quantities which would be equal to the physical count. The purpose of beverage stock taking is to ascertain the actual value of beverages held in stock. The stock taking of a cellar involves the physical counting of each type and size of beverage held in the stock and recording the quantities for costing. Level of stock. In order to avoid overstocking and understocking for each item, the stock levels are fixed. Usually, the following are the 4 levels of stock. Maximum level. It is the level above which the stock on hand should not be there. Ordering level. At this level, the concerned person should take steps for getting the fresh supply. A minimum level. It is the level below which stock on hand should not be allowed to follow. Danger level. Immediate steps should be taken to purchase the materials, as otherwise business would be severely affected. The excise department, which is the license issuing authority, decides on the quantity of the 3 different types of alcoholic beverages: wine, spirit, beer, to be held in stock irrespective of the demand for consumption. Accordingly, every alcoholic beverage outlet is allocated a certain numbers of units, which is given as 1 bottle of whiskey, that is 750 ml, 1 unit, 3 bottles of wine, that is 1 unit, 1 case of beer, 12 bottles as 1 unit. The outlet divides as per the requirement the number of bottles to be ordered under each variety of the alcoholic beverage to meet its demands based on the type of operation, its location, storage facilities available, catering policy, financial investment position and the season. The aim of the establishment must be to ensure that sufficient stock is available for the business. Excessive stock is avoided as it is non-profit investment. Pricing of stock. In the seller stock books, along with the calculation of quantities of stock in hand, the cost of every item is calculated. The total cost of the stock in hand is a very useful information to know about the money held in the seller stock. The cost of every bottle under each category includes all additional charges such as transportation, import duties, excise duties, all the taxes of the state government, discounts by the suppliers, etc. The cost of individual bottle of every type of beverage is difficult to maintain as the price changes every time an order is placed because of government policies. Therefore, to find the cost of stock in hand, the weighted average price method is applied. Weighted average price is arrived by using the following formula. Total value of the stock on hand or total quantity equals weighted average price. Example, 8 bottles of old stock at rupees 2000 each equals rupees 16,000. 6 bottles of new stock at rupees 3000 equals rupees 18,000. So total there are 14 bottles for rupees 34,000. The average weighted price per bottle is rupees 2,428 per bottle. Potential sales. This is the calculation of the selling price which is recorded in the various departments dealing with the requisitions, that is the seller, accounts and in some establishments the bar. All the items issued to the bar are valued along with the cost price, the selling prices also. This value of the selling price before the actual sales occurs is termed as the potential sales. To keep a check on the performance of the bar, the potential sales is compared with the actual sales. Variance is analyzed. Periodical stock taking. For the month end inventory, the formula is opening stock plus receipts minus closing stock equals stock for sales in the outlets or quantity indented for sales. The calculation is at cost price and the formula yields the price of goods at cost price. The same formula when calculated at selling price of every item gives the sales potential of the outlet. Beverage production control and sales control. The preparation of beverages is simpler than that of food because the containers, bottles, cans come in standard units with a known quality and volume of contents. Number of beverage items is lesser than the food items. Processing stage as in foods does not exist. The production and sales both are in the bar. The control of beverages is difficult because it is a highly desirable product to staff and customers. The outlets offering drinks accept certain standards of customer expectations and establish procedures to ensure that these standards be met. Drink sizes must be standardized as well quantities of ingredients used in its preparation. The quantities of ingredients used when standardized must be converted to cost standards as a means to control costs. When drinks are prepared by recipe with specific quantities of ingredients and served in predetermined portion sizes, then the cost of the items prepared can be controlled. Quantity control. To control the quantities to be sold, they must be measured. The bartender must measure the quantities used. For this, the equipment used is the peg measure. It is a stainless steel or brass measuring device designed to measure 1 ounce or 30 milliliter and 2 ounces or 60 milliliter. Glassware. In addition to the quantity of liquor for the preparation of every drink, the control of overall quantity of the drinks is achieved by standardizing the glassware used for service. Appropriate glassware for the service of different types of drinks should be available. Volume forecasting. The practice is to keep a specific par stock for the selling outlet. A par stock is a predetermined quantity of each item. This is a calculated quantity of each item based on the sales requirement for an average day. Each day, the stock consumed is replenished from the seller such that the par stock is brought to the required level and the bar is stocked for the day's sale. Standard yield. The number of portions obtainable from one bottle is based on the size of the bottle, as the portion size is fixed at 30 milliliter for spirits, whiskey, brandy, gin, vodka, rum. Other alcoholic beverages, wines and beers are sold in units, that is, containers in which they are packed. Therefore, the potential sales can be calculated without much difficulty. Standard portion size. The standard portion size represents the number of fluid ounces of a drink to be served in relation to the cost and selling price of the drink. Standard drink recipes. The quantity and quality of the ingredients required for the preparation of the product is listed and total cost arrived at. From the cost, the selling price is calculated as per the policy of the establishment. This is to obtain consistency in quality, quantity and taste for the sale of a particular item. This also helps in calculating standard sales potential. The two types of drinks served are straight drinks with mixtures, example whiskey and soda. Mixed drinks or cocktails involving many ingredients combined in a certain way to make the right drink. Standard selling price. Once standard costs for standard products are known, selling price is calculated. This standardization is for maintenance of a planned cost to sales ratio for each drink sold. All ingredients are included for costing. Selling prices are fixed in relationship to the costs. Every sales has an impact on the overall gross profit. Therefore, planning and maintaining of profit levels is possible. Ounce control. This involves taking physical inventory of bar stock to ascertain the quantity sold. The formula is opening balance plus receipts minus closing balance equals consumption or the sales. This is compared with the detailed sales record. The actual sales must tally with the actual consumption figures of the physical inventory. When the differences between the actual sales and the potential sales exceeds the permissible limit, then the common causes are excess pouring, spillage or evaporation, deviation from the formula for mixed drinks, not charging for all the drinks consumed by customers. Frauds in the bar. By committing acts of fraud in which the establishment loses the value of items misproportionated and also the profit that would have been made by the sale of such items. The acts of frauds are short measure, pouring less than the quantity in the recipes and also less than the peg measure, dilution. By watering the drinks, more number of measures from the bottle is available to be sold and make money. Carrying in bottles. Bottles can be brought from outside to be sold. As it is not mentioned in the requisition, the sales can be personal profit. It's now time to wrap up this session. So let us conclude by saying all the items issued from the seller and the analysis of sales in the bar will show the consumption of beverages which should tally with the sales amount. Any discrepancy found should be investigated and controls exercised. Regular spot checks should be made to ensure all systems are being implemented properly. The balance stock as per the records against the physical stock must be checked at regular intervals. Any discrepancy must be corrected immediately. Thank you.